Welcome, everyone, to the A to Z podcast with your host here, Zachary Birdsong and
Amber Long.
And we're here to talk.
We're here to chat to you.
This episode is, I think I was thinking about it as like, I think you just said check-in before, but I was thinking like, too, it's kind of like an almost introspective yap session number 2. Yeah, and of sorts.
What by now, which this will date this episode a little bit, but how many episodes have we put out?
Oh, shoot. I think you'd think I'd know off the top of my head since I'm the one doing it. I think it's 16. I think as of today, as of this
16.
like firm date, I think it's, which today's date is March 21st. I want to say that it's 16.
On my 16th birthday, this one makes me think of it. My grandma was like, "Sweet 16, never been kissed," and then she was like, "I don't know about that, but happy birthday." I was like, "Yeah, this ship has sailed, Grandma."
She put a little bit of truth in that.
Yeah, she's very real. Because apparently that's what it means. If you only have a sweet 16 if you've never been kissed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I guess that makes sense. I never really thought about what the sweet of the Sweet 16 meant, but that makes sense. I can see that. I can just read this verbatim. I have a journal entry, everybody. I wrote it this morning. Is it kind of long? It might be kind of long. Let me see. It is a little bit long, but you know what? Feel free to stop me though, just like wherever you have a thought, or if you want to wait until the end,
okay,
that's fine too.
Do you have a preference?
If you have a thought, please share. So I guess that would be my preference. Is that feel free to stop me. Okay. We can talk about it, and then if you say something where I'm like, oh, it's kind of, then I'll say I'll keep going or something, and then you can respond to that perhaps. So I said, if we are not our thoughts, what are we? Our thoughts are incorporeal manifestations of our biology and life experiences. They are inconsequential up until the point in which they materialize in the external world through some sort of action. Are you with me so far? And I'm thinking this through as well.
Yes,
I didn't have like an end goal in mind necessarily. This was me thinking out loud.
I'm with you. So when you say action, do you mean like, so if I were to have a thought and the thought makes me anxious.
And you respond to that anxiousness, that's an action.
By doing something?
Yes.
Or is it enough
it's not the
to feel
It's not the feeling itself, because you can let yourself feel that. And I think it would be hard for it to not materialize in some way through your actions if you are feeling something, even if it's minute. So if it makes you feel something, then it's probably going to be at least lightly materialized through some sort of action, whether it's feeling more reserved or not, just whatever it ends up making you, however it ends up making you feel.
Yes. What I would say is that what that makes me think about, though, is the ways in which certain feelings, when they're not accompanied by action. So let's say I'm anxious and I just stew in that anxiousness, but I don't express it in the way of like, or process it, like if I'm not moving my body, if I'm not making art, if I'm not cooking or doing something with my hands or talking to someone about why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, how much that builds up in the body and can turn into disease.
Right.
Which is a complicated relation, like to what you're saying about action. But I'm with you. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's not to say it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Because it depends on the context, right? Yeah. If you get really angry and you think about punching somebody, you probably, well, maybe they deserve it in some cases, but in some you shouldn't, right? Or it would be good not to. It would benefit you both not to. But if you're feeling anxious, in some cases, you're making a face. But I'm saying, in some cases, people really deserve it.
It's beneficial for someone to get punched in the face for their own good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they may not see it until later, after they wake up in the hospital. They'll be like, golly. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I kind of deserved that.
Amen.
It just depends. And then I say, before then, they are as real as dragons. Though even through action, it is not that the thought becomes more real, it just seems that way. The belief in Santa Claus captivates the minds of children worldwide. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure some people outside of the U.S. believe in Santa Claus, but I don't think it's just like a word. I don't know if that.
Maybe but Europeans, they got Saint Nick. It's a little
they got
different.
Saint Nick. Well, something like that. I'll just say at least in the Santa Claus U.S. Something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Western world, a little.
Amen. The Western world is vast.
That's true. Doesn't make Santa any more, yeah. These, let me go back. The minds of children worldwide. Intent on reminding them of the importance of goodwill and good behavior. These acts of service, though, do not make Santa any more or less real. It's a story, just like the random ones our minds generate on a daily basis. These stories can make ideas and beliefs seem more or less real, but that's also a part of the story. The part we tell ourselves to have any semblance of power and belief that we are in the right. We are not our thoughts, we are our own stories, because it is from those that we decide how to act. But our thoughts are everything that enters our minds. Our stories are the thoughts we hold on to.
I agree. I do think that the stories we tell ourselves, and there's a lot of like self-help literature out there about this, that the stories we tell ourselves are so much more responsible for our reality,
right?
And what we think we are than what we're actually going through every single day. And it can, because it can make us more open or closed or oriented towards certain things. Yeah.
And this for me
I
came
agree.
from the discussions and thoughts on like rumination and thinking too much about the self and how I'm being perceived by others. Because what it helps me understand through like this journey of realizing that basically I'm not as people aren't paying as much of attention to the things that I do and how that affects them as I am. People forget about it soon after, whereas for me it might ruin the vibe for the rest of the afternoon, right? Yeah. Or have an effect on it at least.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was kind of coming from that angle where I'm thinking, okay, in terms of, if we're not our thoughts, which is what's kind of told to us to put a barrier between us and them, right? If we're not our thoughts, because those are the things that can just, because of our biology and life experiences, just come up unprompted, right? The stories we tell ourselves are the prompted thoughts, the ones that we hang on to and keep, they're the thoughts that may feel a bit more controlled because they're the ones that we are choosing to have or think about, or whatever.
They're very refined after a certain point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if you have that tendency for rumination or to think, oh, this, I shouldn't have done this. This affected this person. Why did I do this? And keep going over this like cyclical thought process where you're just going over the situation over and over again. Then you're telling yourself a story. And that story is that you messed up, you did bad. And you're telling yourself that over and over again with all these different scenarios throughout your day. And then once it becomes a habit, then it's even just more so ingrained into how you function and who you are as a person. And it can just really start to bog you down.
Yeah.
And so in acknowledging that, I have come to like this, I feel a bit more free in that I'm putting distance between me and the thought and doing this, like, I think I already mentioned to you, this like porch scenario where I'm like, if a thought comes along and I don't like it, I get out from under the sun because the storm has come and now I'm, under the porch and I sit there and I wait for the storm to pass and I don't think about it. I don't label it as bad. I'm just like, okay, this is a thought that I'm having. It's giving me these feelings. Okay, fine. Whatever. And so then it kind of just leads to the question of what do I want to do about that? Right, which is the action-oriented thing, and this process that I've went down actually made me a lot more attuned to what you said before about intentions versus actions, And I think that because intentions are thought, right? That was your primary kind of like thing that you were trying to separate them with is intent is thought. You can't ever truly know. Action is what matters. And that's so true just in terms of, how you're taking what you're thinking and what you're feeling too. And because the actions are what have those things be materialized in the world, right? And that's actually what matters. The thoughts are the, either dragons or the stories that you tell yourself, but the reality is what you do with those, right? That's what forms your reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's honestly what you are thinking. Two people can be having that same thought and two people can have the same intention, but how that shows up in the world is really a big part of what makes you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm angry at you, do I punch you or do I talk to you? Do I have a conversation with you? Because at the end of the day, my intention with either one is to engage you in some conflict, right? But how I go about it, and even let's say I argue with you or I just talk to you to try to understand and then impart where I'm coming from, and all of that bridges into what kind of person you are,
Mm-hmm.
and so... But and one can argue then your intention is shifting a little bit. Because one of them I just want to... But I don't know.
No,
if two people want to box, that's what makes sense to them. But there's like there's a decorum in it. There's like a,
Mm-hmm.
Me versus you. And if I get the best of you, then you've got to knock it off.
Right. If they both agree to it, it's like
because there's an honor in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an honor in talking things out versus, And the truth is, my intention is to resolve this issue and to not necessarily dishonor you, but like to handle things in this way that we both agree to and have agency in. But at the end of the day, maybe and the slight intention would be it's me versus you or like us together to solve the problem, right? So there are little bits of different kinds of intention that do show up differently based on your behavior, but I think I still
that's what I was saying is that I understand where you're coming from with that. It makes thinking about it in terms of these kind of stories helped me see, and putting the distance between you and the thought too helped me see that a little bit better. Because I also think it's interesting that when we're talking about, I think it's good to take into consideration the stories that were told to people as they go through life through the actions of those that they were around too. Because that explains why, in their minds, that's the story they perpetuate. Right.
Mm-hmm.
If someone had abusive parents, and I mean, that's why you see statistically people are just more likely to do it because that's the story they knew, so they're going to pass that. But that's why you kind of have to separate yourself from society and your experience in terms of asking yourself, what is the story you want to tell, and that's where your like principles and values come in, and that's why it's so important to identify those things because and that's why you always see these posts or people talking about how in like in a sea of people going two different directions, be the one person going on that other path because you can make that one yours, right? So I think that's something that we all got to kind of think about too is it's good to have cohesiveness because that makes it easier for everyone to have mutual understanding. But if we don't allow people to explore their individuality and their own stories, then we're never going to really progress as individuals and as a society too.
Yeah. It is there's an interesting balance, and I feel like I've always, and probably all of us kind of have had that interesting dance between what do I need to do as a person for myself, and then how do I contribute, or what role do I play in the bigger society that's around me, if it's family or, whatever city you live in or humanity as a whole, whatever scale you want to put it at. It's I would like to think we all have to figure that out for ourselves. To so much so that I sometimes will Google, like, what is the Eastern thought on this matter?
Yeah.
That's more communalistic, or is that the word?
Close enough.
Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm just getting it through like this Western prism, the answer, but there's a happy medium in there. Yeah.
I agree with that.
What do you think this is going to do for you?
I think it's going to help me detach more from, because I almost feel like I've been globbed on to these ideas and just my understanding of how much pressure is. There's really not as much pressure on people as I think there is, particularly myself, because I don't put a lot of pressure on others, but I put a lot of pressure on just on myself, because that's just the way that I think, right? Cautious, be good, don't rock the boat, right? And moving forward, I guess with the boat metaphor, these, you got these like normal waves that just happen on the ocean, and everyone just sees those as like the normal, just ebb and flow of the water. And but I can see that if I do something that causes that ebb and flow, it's a wave to me that can bring the boat down, is how my mind's seen it. And so I think that now, since I'm decreasing the volatility of the actual just natural occurrences of the ocean, I think that'll allow me to be more free to assert preferences and my individuality in ways where I'm not as fearful of losing people or being left behind, and understanding even so that if that happens, that's a part of it. That's a part of the ocean, as a part of the journey on the boat. So I think the main thing is just coming away from it with a better understanding and ability to just be authentic.
Do your fear of loss of people by asserting yourself, has that happened to you before? Is it something you've seen? Where does it come from?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that. I don't know.
Or do you feel like it's just kind of this innate human thing? Because there is some element of that's true. It's just humans.
I think that being a person that just thinks so much, that exemplifies it, for sure. The worry and that fear. But I also think that I have seen in my life challenges that other people face, and I've heard the things that they say to each other that probably makes it seem more serious than what it really was in some regards, and then maybe at times it really was that serious. But when you see it from both of those fronts, you kind of get a blurred vision of where that line really is, right? Because if you see people blowing up at really small things, then you're like, oh, I got to really be careful. And so you don't understand as well what really is actually small and what is something that you need to really be concerned about. You start acquiring the blame and the work for yourself. You're not saying like, oh, this person has some things they need to work through, because
which is almost always the truth.
Pretty much.
If someone's reacting largely,
yes,
to something,
it's because they have something they're dealing with.
Yeah,
but
they've never been taught a better way to react.
Right, but in my mind, for me, it was, I have to fit the mold, instead of finding the mold that I already fit into.
Is it so? In that way, it's you trying to manage the situation by
accommodating.
And managing yourself.
Yeah, because that was the control that I had. Because if you're a person that just doesn't want conflict, you think that's inherently bad, which it's not.
Right.
But if you kind of had that underlying belief, and you go into a situation and you know you're the only thing you can't control in that. You have power over yourself. You don't have power over anyone else. You're like, these things or these feelings that these people are having are bad, and there's something I can do about it. So let me retreat. Let me go out of my way. Let me do whatever it is that I need to do to stop them from feeling that way, because I think that feeling is bad. And that's another thing, though, that I've realized recently, is that what people might typically call like negative feelings they don't have to be negative. That's where the action comes in. It can be if you react in a way that is overly harmful to people, but it's never the emotion. It's always the action, right? So that's why it's been easier for me now to sit back, and if I see this storm while I'm on the porch and it's making me feel, really anxious or angry, I'm not telling myself that's bad anymore. I need to stop this. I need to stop feeling this. I'm saying, okay, again, this is like a signal, right?
Right.
I like that idea of it being a signal. It's telling me something. It's saying, I'm feeling angry, so this thing is important to me. I value this, right?
Yeah.
And so it kind of turns it on its head. It reminds you that it's just trying to tell you what's important to you, which are positive things.
Yes, it's
hopefully
all
most of the
insight,
time.
you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's information, data, which works very well for me, perceiving it as like data and signals too, because I
you're that way.
Yes, right. It just works for me. And
INTJ.
Yeah, INTP.
INTP.
Yep. Yeah. I don't do that judging.
Sorry.
But yeah, so that emotional piece, the detachment from the emotions and seeing them as data and not as inherently positive or negative, has helped a lot too. And I've noticed that when it comes up now, since I'm not fighting it anymore, since I'm not thinking about why am I feeling this way, how can I stop, I feel better quicker, because which seems very counterintuitive. Because I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Well, at least it does to me, because when you're trying to fix things in your external world, you have to take a part in it. Right? You have to act. If something's going wrong around you, you have to act to do something about it, right? If your sink is broken, you got to fix it. You got to do something. But with your mind, if you're feeling something, it's almost as if, and maybe this is just specific to me because of the challenges that I'm having with my emotions. But for me, it's not about digging your hands in there and taking whatever out of it, or trying to close the gaps or anything like that. It's about just letting it be, because putting my hands in it too much is just making it worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything you said resonates. Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier, in light of one of our friends is moving away.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking about some of the things he was saying to us yesterday. And I have to forget.
At the end?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to forget that he's a little bit older than us. Or I don't have to forget. I forget that he's a little bit ahead of where we are, if we take age to mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of reminded me that getting older, it seems like turning 30 or approaching 30 is just this time where things start to kind of make sense a little bit, start to click into place. And it's not that everything like magically gets better. It's just you're like, oh, I finally understand what's going on now. Enough.
Right.
I get it enough. I understand the basic, and when I say basic, I mean the fundamental human things that are happening. I can explain them now, and I can understand them, not through the prism of, not even through the lens of, oh, well, this happened to me, so this blah, 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 or not through the prism of experience, but just through like, how does the brain work? How does the body work? And what's true, kind of, regardless of the situation. Because I always think it's fascinating that, like, two people can go through two different experiences. One that has maybe way more potential to damage the individual, is how I'll put it, than the other one. But they can walk away with the same exact feeling, and be stuck for years, or move on really quickly. And it actually doesn't have anything to do with the experience. It has everything to do with just how people respond and how people work and the body works and how we've been, the genes we've passed down to each other and the signals that show up, because those are the signals that we have because of the neurotransmitters that we have. Are you following what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, when you start to get that piece of it, and then you can start to be like, oh, that's what's happening there. That's what's happening there. That's what this is. And how much that does kind of take this sense of like, I don't have to, I'm not actually beholden to what happens to me in my life. I'm not beholden to any one situation. I need to master, quote unquote, probably not the best word, but I need to gain an understanding of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can walk through all these different experiences with the proper perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which sounds like really, it's just kind of reading your story and understanding your story.
Mm. Yeah, but not in like I like that you said that. Reading your story versus rehearsing your narrative. Because I think that's what what you were talking about before, is like some stuff is us rehearsing the narrative. Mm-hmm. And some of it is just, us taking it in for what it is. Mm-hmm. What are the words on the page?
Like, and how you fit in.
Yeah. Because what's funny is my cello teacher used to be like I would play these notes, and she was like, your musical instincts are right, but that's just not what it says on the page. So I would do things that made sense to me based off of other music that I'd heard. And she'd be like, I get it. It does sound good. That's just not what it says. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, you're right. You're right. Let me play the music.
Right.
And read the music instead of...
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. Yeah. I think that well encapsulates that idea. Because what you're saying is that the wrong notes for the actual music you're practicing is indicative of is like the same as the story that other people tell. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so if
it was conditioning.
Yes.
Based off of what I had heard growing up.
And so when then people tell you, because let's say she was a bad teacher and instead she just tells you you're wrong, right? You're going to feel bad. Mm-hmm. You're going to feel like crap. Mm-hmm. But instead she's saying, hey, this, it's just from other things, but we're let's focus on this right now. We're trying to get through this musical piece, right? And that musical piece and the metaphor is you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. this part of your life. Yeah. I do think that a lot of my poems have been focused on, so I've been like writing, I thought I was going to write a collection, but it's really just like, I don't know if it'll ever become a collection. It'd be cool if it does, but writing after this idea of, it's called like All My Life a Fantasy. I've told you about it. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind it is that it kind of exactly what we're talking about. When I moved here, I started to and it didn't happen right away. Because I feel like when I first moved here, I got to the peak of what is no other word can describe it but like delusion. Of just me getting caught up in the life, in the narrative of what it means to be like a successful person in America. Like, what does it mean to be a certain kind of black woman? What does it mean to be in this kind of relationship, to work this kind of job, to aspire for these kind of goals, to have this kind of body, to speak this way, to dress this way, to be this kind of Christian, all of these different things. To be, an intellectual, and what does that mean? Mm-hmm. To be a part of community, and what does that mean? And I had all these ideas that I picked up along the way from other people, and they were weighing me down. And
I think that's why I harp on, and maybe not rightly so, because it's not maybe the best way to get at what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm about to say?
maybe.
Labels?
No, that's not what I thought you were going to say.
Oh, okay.
But I get, yeah. No, I understand.
Because they're all informing a story that you feel that you have to follow.
Live up to, yeah.
And they do inform the stories of they are actually, they don't just inform how you think your story should go, but they are actually embedded into your story. Parts of them are, right? Because parts of it are real, but there are some things that are parts of these labels that don't touch your story, right? And so I think that's the important part of finding one's individuality, is seeing is you can take the label, you can say this is a thing that I am a part of, broadly speaking, because labels are intended to be usually broad, right, to capture a lot of people. But I think the next important thing to do is to say, okay, which parts of this label are a part of my story, and which can I reject?
Yeah, and understanding too that, like, to go off of that, there's just some things that are going to be true about you,
right?
No matter what, and there's no amount of anybody changing the definition or tailoring it to their own idea, that if it's true between the two of us, if we both have skin, there's no amount of anything that anybody's going to do that's going to change the fact that you have skin and I have skin.
Right.
So they can tell themselves whatever story they want to tell about that skin, but we both have it. So I can tell you about my skin. You can tell me about your skin. We still both have it, though.
The words or the symbology might change over time, but that doesn't change the reality of what's being, what those symbols are meant to represent.
Right. So if I come to you and I talk to you about a pimple, you will almost certainly know what it is, because, or like, that experience of it, because we all get one. So it doesn't matter whatever you want to talk about around it. There's just some things that are always going to be true. And I feel like that's where my head has been, in terms of, like, trying to be grounded, as we all say, like, touch grass, in the sense of, like, pulling your head out of the fog, out of the, like, mist, and seeing everything with, like, clear eyes, and being, like, on the ground.
Almost take it a step further. Touch the dirt.
Put your feet in the dirt.
Dig a hole.
Yes. And put your feet in it. And then stand there for a long time.
Bury yourself.
I don't know about that.
No, that's just, you're just doing the same thing, but in a different spot at that point.
Yeah, like, get rooted, man.
Yeah, get in there.
Get in there and understand the world from that perspective, instead of, like, trying to fly off into the,
hemisphere.
Yeah, and, like, there's nothing wrong with, like, and I think some of that is me contending with also ambition. And what does it mean to have all of these ideas and dreams and capability and capacity, according to other people, by the way, a large part of it. And then part of it is me being like, oh, I think I can do that. I think I like that. I want to understand this. And those are two different things. And just trying to navigate my way through, again, return to sender. If that is your business, if that's what you think about the world, if that's how you see me, you have to understand that that's not my business. And so I was telling you before we hit record, like, I was watching this like little, critical piece commentary about Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And there's this point in the show, it's really hard to, like, if you've never seen the show, there is...
Go watch it, first of all. If you've never seen the show, go watch it.
And have patience with it, because you got to get through, like, kids being kids to get to the fact that this is one of the greatest shows I think that has ever been made. And if you're really interested in philosophy and religion and politics...
It hits all of it.
It's
really
all
well.
of those things, of culture, like ethnicity, like imperialism, like domination, all of it. is in these shows, even in Korra. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but just watch Korra again without the misogyny. Just watch it again.
I enjoyed it.
The way that people rag on it, I'm like, I literally just think it's because you're sexist. I just think it's sexism. But anyway. And she's brown. Like, what's wrong with you people? Anyway. Zuko is this character who, he's the son of the Fire Lord. He, is kind of arrogant. So his dad challenges him to a duel in front of the whole, court. He loses. His dad punishes him by burning his eye and then banishes him. And for most of the show, he's like, I have to find the Avatar, capture him, bring him back to my dad to restore my honor. And he has this uncle who was like an incredible firebender, the Dragon of the West, right? That's what they used to call him. But failed miserably at trying to capture Ba Sing Se, which is this big walled-off city in the Earth Kingdom. And he...
But he only failed because his son died, right?
I can't remember why he failed.
I thought that
it may have had something. I know that his son dying played a big role.
Yeah, because he was destructive and basically as bad as the father.
As the Fire Lord.
And then when his son died, it basically changed his tune.
Yeah, and he's like, sweet-hearted and congenial and wise as all get out. Who my dog is named after, Uncle Iroh. And
Iroh for short.
Yes,
that's what you call
Iroh.
your dog.
I call him Iroh. I actually call him Bubba Boo most of the time. But he, at one point Zuko's like, I have to do this. And then Iroh's like, basically like, no, you don't. And he yells at him and he goes, who, like, it's time to ask yourself the big questions of like, who are you? And what do you want? And I feel like that's where I'm at, which is like a different version of where you're at, but I think it's the same thing. Who are you and what do you want? And I was telling you before we hit record, I have always known who I am. I can't shake the bitch. She won't go away. But I've buried her beneath the expectations of others, for an extremely long time. And so now unearthing it, and every day is like just me apologizing to her constantly. And forgiving, like apologies and forgiving and apologies and forgiving and promises of like, I'm not gonna leave you. I'm not gonna abandon you like that again. I'm not gonna make you somebody you're not again, and I'm not going to put you below others because who are they, like, and not in like a bad way, just in the sense of like, it's just not necessary, it serves no purpose kind of thing. And so,
because I think we both, we've experienced a loss of ourselves, and I think to what you're saying, yours was through meeting the expectations of others, and I think mine was through meeting the needs of others.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'd be interested to know your breaking point. My breaking point was finally doing it, meeting all the expectations I thought I needed to meet, and being wildly unhappy, miserable, insecure, anxious all the time, kind of not very well physically. And it just I don't know. I actually wish I could say like it was one.
And that's the thing. I was just thinking about it.
Thing.
It's not. It's a series. It's a culmination of things. Because when you were talking about it, I was trying to think a little bit about mine and listen at the same time. And I was like, I don't think I have this like one instance where it hit me. I think you have like maybe a couple of moments where like a piece of it hits you and you think about it, but you don't like absorb it fully. until it keeps, it's like hitting up against a brick wall until it finally falls.
That's so interesting, because I would almost say what happened to me was me hitting the brick wall and hitting it until I didn't want to get up anymore.
Mm.
And then I was like, so I'm just not going to get up. And then I didn't. And then I just laid there. And then I was like, well, I'm going to have to get up eventually, but I'm not going to do that again.
Right.
So I guess we better figure out what we're going to go do, because it's not that.
Maybe you walk the other direction where there's no brick wall.
I think that's what it was.
Mm.
Was me just being like, where did this wall even come from? I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I even trying to get over it? Like,
then you see a plaque and you see it was built by you, too.
like, I'm not even into architecture.
How'd I do all this?
Yeah, and then it's all, but, and it's like, did I build it, or did someone else just put my name on it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this doesn't feel like my building at all, but I know it is, because it says it's mine, but I don't even like being indoors.
Right.
So what are we talking about? Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna go outside. Yeah, that's what I think happened.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the more now, I know like a little bit of what I just wanted to check in too, to see like how are you responding to like everything that's happening around us.
Oh, Todo el Mundo?
Yeah. But I think my response is just like, change or be changed is how I feel. You can make up your mind for yourself in this moment about what's right and what's wrong by listening and learning and checking in and with your own values, or you can be a part of bullshit, or be caught up in stuff you don't even understand. And so when it comes to a head, you're going to be like, wait a minute, I didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, wait, you could have known. So is this just negligence and ignorance, or like, what is this?
Or you
little
think
laziness? I don't know.
Or you think you do, and you're fine with it.
You're fine with it.
You're like, okay, I understand what's going on here, and it's just like not good stuff. And that, I think, about El Mundo, I would say that if you find yourself,
Le Monde.
if you find yourself, and we've talked about this before, I like talking about things in this manner, but if you find yourself kind of taking action or moving in a direction in which you are focused on your feelings of kind of hate, or distaste. Because remember, that's a signal, as we've talked about. So what that's doing is, if you hate something, if you feel strongly enough to call it hate, if you hate something or have strong distaste towards something, then usually the opposite is what you love. So if you see things happening in the world that you feel you hate, don't attack that, but instead fight for what you love, is what I would say. Because I think that, especially in today's climate, there's just and it may not even be this way. I think social media just distorts a lot, but
for sure,
looking through that lens, it seems like there's an overabundance of hate right now.
Oh yeah, I think to mention what I was talking about earlier that was making me emotional. I was taking Iro out earlier today, and I was outside, and I was, part of my, I cried. I had a cleansing cry yesterday. And part of the cry was me just being like, I feel so fortunate to be embodied and to take this body and go and be outside. That's what I was so emotional about. I was like, I get to go meet these people. I get to go eat here. I get to go talk to this person. I get to go see water. I get to go look at all these dandelions that have so many medicinal properties that we've been killing off in our lawns when we've had a apothecary growing in our front yard this whole time. How extraordinary. Like, I'm so moved by the opportunity to live on planet Earth. And there will never not be every single day I want to live in the gratitude of that, you know, and the opportunity to experience life, because as far as we know, it doesn't exist like this somewhere else. This is all we know, and we're finding other life, but this is extraordinary.
Would you say that we've kind of exchanged a sort of, for lack of a better word or term, like a grounded living for comfort? If you can understand what I'm trying to get at there.
Yes. And I think so. I think it's like, you know, whole wheat. You know, it's like you can have, like we were talking about to Karen about sourdough. Maybe you weren't part of it, but like how good that is for your digestive system, you know. And it's still a bread that has like, you know, you're cultivating bacteria to create this certain kind of bread, but it's still an amazing bread. And then there's white bread that has no nutritional
devoid
value.
Of all,
yeah, it's a dead bread. And so like you can still arrive at like not even comfort, like real like vitality through doing the work, or you can be comfortable and then slowly, like now because we eat food that's too soft, now you gotta go to a sleep specialist because your mouth didn't form the right way, and so now you gotta have, you know, you can't breathe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can go through it, or you can try to avoid it. And I think I don't even know if it's comfort. I think it's just avoidance.
I think that
or
is a part of it.
Domination and avoidance.
Yes, it's like avoidance, comfort, and ease, kind of like all bundled into like this weird monstrosity, you know, because even
flattening.
Yeah. Yep. And I think a lot of it comes from the desire to make money and have power. That's what it comes down to. Make
money and have power and to feel safe.
Don't be afraid. If you find fear, you got to get rid of that.
We can do a whole episode on fear.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to.
And we should, yeah. And the debilitating effects of fear when you don't know how to manage it.
More people. I think we need to get more bears out in the world so people remember what fear really is and what it was intended to be used for within our systems.
Yeah. Because you know what? And I was going to say this earlier, and I think probably close to needing to switch to the next one.
Okay.
But there was this time where... And my old roommate from college, and I kind of had it wasn't an argument, but she disagreed with the sentiment. But somebody had said one time, like, when you're talking about, like, harmful bacteria or whatever, let's say, or, like, parasites, they're not trying to kill you. They're trying to do something else, and you get harmed in the process. You know? But sometimes when certain things like that happen, it is if you think about like the circle of life, like in terms of what happens with the species and what happens with the ecosystem, there is an order to it. It's not all just random death, which is what sometimes our human brain processes. This is like, I'm the victim of death, when really I'm a part of this bigger thing.
Right.
And
it's because we think we're special.
And that, all my life, a fantasy. my babes, you're not special.
Nope.
And I say this as a person who needs to feel special. Like my life depends on it. You're not special. But you can be very special to someone, including yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I tell myself all the time now. I'm like, you're so special to me. You mean so much to me. To myself, to my body, to my mind. You mean something to me. But do I just mean something more than any other thing? No.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Now you're relieved of the pressure.
Right. We're just more complex organisms.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. But there's also amazing organisms that are doing crazy things or living hundreds of years, or there's species that's around when the dinosaurs were around for hundreds of millions of years. Like, you think you're that special, you're not. But you are, you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And you matter. And you matter because you're here.
Yes. Yes.
So, don't know if that makes you feel better or not.
And if it doesn't, it will.
You're going to have to sit with it, though.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get out on that porch.
Yep.
And watch those feelings go by.
Watch the feelings.
Yeah.
Keep banging against that brick wall.
Yep.
Until you decide, oh, it's not worth it anymore, or until it falls, whichever it is for you.
Yep. As my grandma says, take the bitter with the sweet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why I eat 85 to 90% dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate's extraordinary.
It is.
I would love to go to a chocolate making class.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it from beginning to end, or see where they source the beans.
Just how they do it
Fair
all.
trade is so sexy.
Mm.
It is so oof. Moving on. I'm warm.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I actually am. Oh my God. Really warm. Anyway. Well, everybody, I hope this has given you something to think about. I hope you know that you matter to us a lot.
Yeah.
We really do. And we're grateful for you listening.
And letting us yap.
Yeah, and listening to us yap back shit.
Yeah, yap back shit.
Maybe, I don't know, send us if you have a voice note that you want us to share on Instagram. We could do that. We could share your little, if you record something and you want to share what you've been thinking about, what you've been processing lately.
Mm-hmm.
I know we say that and maybe you don't think we're serious, and maybe we're not, but we will be.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
We'll get there. So, yeah.
Comment, subscribe, and do all the things. But, let us know what you think. Yeah.
And have a great day.
Yeah. Have a great day today.
Farewell, buds.
Farewell.